A few weeks ago I got some fish food in the mail. I've been testing that food for a while and I wanted to talk about it with you guys today and share with you what I learned. Hey fish friends, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Zenzo and you're watching Tazawa Tanks. Because I have so many fish tanks and because I have a fish room downstairs, anytime a manufacturer wants for me to test some food, I do not turn them down because feeding my fish can be quite expensive. You may recall from a few weeks ago when I was at the Aquatic Experience, I interviewed a couple of fish food manufacturers, one of those being New Life Spectrum. So the two foods that I'm going to talk about today are the New Life Spectrum Probiotics, and the other one is the New Life Spectrum Algae Max. Obviously Algae Max, that's an algae wafer. This is geared towards fish that have a more of a herbivore diet. And then the probiotic, this is a food that is like a micro pellet, I should say. So it's good for your community fish and smaller fish, etc. One of the benefits of the probiotic food is that it does promote better digestion for your fish. And the way that New Life Spectrum achieves this is in their two-part system when they make the food. What they call it on the jar is a cold re-extrusion technology. Essentially what they're doing is a two-part process where they will add the probiotic in the first process, and then they will re-extrude when it's cold so as not to kill the live cultures. What was also shared with me is that this food is based on the Thera A formula. It also has a phosphate-eating bacteria, and it's designed to both improve your gut health of your fish as well as increase or make your water quality better. So what I will share with you guys with this food is that at first glance it looks like any other small pellet food. You're not going to be able to see it here, but I do have some other B-roll shots that I'll share with you. And it does have the same consistency as a lot of the other pellet foods. I did use a couple of foods for comparison. One of the other foods that I use as a comparison as far as size and kind of the quality of the food is the New Life Spectrum all-purpose formula. This is also kind of a micro pellet, and this is a jar that was not sent to me. This is one that I already had in my food inventory. And then the other food that I wanted to compare it to is the Northfin cichlid formula, also in a micro pellet. This is a 1 millimeter pellet. So I was able to compare the foods as far as how they float, how they sink, and kind of how it feels in my hands. In addition, something that's very important to me when I'm testing food is to look at the waste. Some of you may have had experience with New Life Spectrum in the past where some of the formulas, I think like the cichlid pellet from a couple of years ago, seem to have like a lot of filler or binder in the pellet. And what you would notice is kind of a lot of red or kind of clay colored detritus in the bottom of your tank afterwards, and that would require a lot of maintenance as far as, you know, vacuuming it up when you're doing your water changes, or you might find that it's working its way into your filters and you're having to do more filter changes in your filtration system. What I did notice with the probiotic blend is that the amount of detritus was a lot less than I expected based on my experience with the previous New Life Spectrum formula. It was very comparable in the amount of waste or detritus to the Northfin pellet that I have been using. A couple other points that New Life Spectrum shared with me is that because this is kind of a concentrated formula, you don't need to feed as much as you would normally with some other pellets to your fish, as it's kind of dense in nutrients. So let's say, for an example, that you have a fish that eats 10 pellets of another brand or another formula. They might only need 7 or 8 of these as an example because they're a little bit more nutrient dense. The other thing that is recommended for this pellet, if you do have fish that like to feed from either the lower part of the tank or the mid part of the tank, is to soak it in water for a few minutes before you add it to your tank, which will then help it to become a little bit more dense because it is a very light pellet and does have a tendency to float, and because of the shape it doesn't do so well in breaking the surface tension. What I did is for those fish that I needed for it to get to the bottom, I would put some in the tank and just kind of run my fingers across the top of the water, and then they would automatically drop. A few things that you're probably wanting to know about this food is some of the guaranteed analysis. So it does have 39% crude protein. It has 9% crude fat, 8% of crude fiber. It has a 10% moisture content. And then, let's see, it has a 10% ash content as well. And then other vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin E. As far as the ingredients, I'll read off some of these here quickly. It's got whole Antarctic krill as the first ingredient, giant squid, and then it has wheat flour and some other ingredients after that. So the first two ingredients are krill and squid, and then it's got flour as a binder, and then a bunch of other things. Looks like some flavors, fish oil, omega-3 fish oils, seaweed, etc. Overall, my fish have reacted very well to this. I've been using it for quite a while now. I've probably been using this for, this jar is about 2/3 gone. I've been using it in all of my peacock fry tanks as well as my shell dweller tank downstairs. And they've all taken a liking to it. Also my Tanganyikan fish downstairs, not the shell dwellers, but my new ones that I haven't filmed yet. So they've all taken a liking to it. They eat it right away. But overall, I've been very pleased. Like I said, I didn't see a lot of waste in the tank, so that's a good indicator, in my opinion, as far as quality food. And it doesn't break apart. There's not a lot of powder or anything like that, any residue in this container. And the fish eat it when I put it in the tank. I've even given some to my bettas a little bit too, and they've eaten it up. The other food that they sent me is the Algae Max. This is an algae wafer. A lot of you are very familiar with algae wafers. You can use those for marine tanks when you have certain fish that like to eat plant matter, seaweed, etc. You also will have some experience with this if you have Plecostomus, plecos, and other fish that like to graze on algae and things like that. The first thing I noticed with this food is that the shape and size of the pellet that was sent to me is a little bit different than I'm used to. Typically, I've been using some of like the Hikari pellets as an example, the algae wafers, not pellets, I'm sorry, the Hikari algae wafers, which kind of have more of a disc shape, like a wider, flatter shape, where these are more like the shape of dog food. But I am told that they do come in a variety of sizes, so this just happens to be the size that I received. I don't see any indication on the container that tells me the size, but Hillary did send me an email and did indicate that the new packaging for this, as well as the probiotics, will indicate the size of the pellet and even have some images on the label. The other thing that I noticed right away is the smell. I did notice that the smell is much different than the Hikari wafers as an example. So when I open this container, it immediately smells like seaweed. So if you've been to the ocean, if you've smelled seaweed like that's washed up ashore, it has a very distinct smell, and that's something that I noticed right away. I also have the Hikari algae wafers as a comparison, and when I smell this, it doesn't smell like seaweed at all. As soon as I kind of realize that there's a significant difference in the smell, I looked at the ingredients. Usually when you're looking at a fish food, you want to look at the first 2 or 3 ingredients, because that's going to be an indicator about the majority of the content of that fish food. The first couple of ingredients in this fish food are algae and seaweed. So there's an algae, chlorella seaweed, and ulva seaweed, followed by a red seaweed, kelp, which is also seaweed, followed by spirulina, wakame seaweed. Wakame is a different kind of seaweed you might have experienced if you have like that Japanese salad. It's a seaweed salad that you get like at a sushi restaurant. Then it has krill, squid, and finally it has some of the binders, the wheat flour. So we've got algae, chlorella seaweed, ulva seaweed, red seaweed, kelp, spirulina 6, wakame seaweed 7. So there's 7 seaweeds and kelps in the first part of the ingredients, and then it's got krill and giant squid, and then it does have some other seaweed further down in the list. So I am told that there's 9 different seaweeds and algae in this blend, so that is also a good indication that they are using some good ingredients in this product. Now comparing that to Hikari, and this is a very common wafer that a lot of you have seen, and here the ingredients are fish meal, wheat flour, wheat germ meal, cassava starch, dried bakery product, and then dry seaweed meal, dehydrated alfalfa meal, alfalfa nutrient concentrate, and then on and on and on. So if we're comparing these two, and I don't work for either of these companies, and no one gave me any money, I just got one little free thing of food here. And Hikari, if you want to send me some wafers, that's fine too. But so again, I read all those ingredients of the different seaweeds and the algae, etc., followed by the krill and the squid, and then here with the algae wafer from Hikari, fish meal, wheat flour, wheat germ, cassava starch, dried bakery products, and then we get the dried seaweed meal. So there's a lot of other stuff in this pellet before you even get to the good stuff, which are the algae and the seaweeds. I'm not here to tell you that one food is better than the other. I think that all of you should make that determination on your own. What I will share with you is that the food that I did test was satisfactory to my needs, and if I were to go out and purchase food and this were an option, I definitely would consider it. I'd love to get your feedback as far as your experience, if you've tried these foods or if you've had experience with other New Life Spectrum foods. I do know that New Life Spectrum will be watching this video and they would also welcome your feedback. That's all I had for now. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.